Hello my friends, welcome to my early wipe guide. If you want to get ahead of the competition, then you have come to the right place. Obviously, you will not get ahead of players that play 8+ hours a day, but even if you play just 2 hours a day, what you do with that time is important, and a lot of people just do not know how to efficiently cruise through the early game. So let me give you a couple of pointers what I specifically focus on during the early game. Number 1 is survive. This is the same tip as I have for my leveling guide. Just focus on survival. Early wipe players will have literally nothing valuable on them in terms of gear. Yes, they can have some quest items that you might need down the line, but if you get into a fight, you are more than likely going to be fighting off endless waves of third parties from other PMCs and scavs. And even then, if you end up coming on top, most PMCs will have shoved their salevas and flash drives into the prison pocket, leaving you with a bunch of stuff that you might not need straight away. So it's just not worth it in my opinion. My playstyle when it comes to early wipe has always been avoid the PvP like the plague. I will only fight unless I do not see leaving the situation as an option, or obviously if I have a quest that requires me to kill other PMCs, then I will have to fight. What I recommend you do before you even gear up is have a plan. It could be whatever. Go look for salevas or flash drives, maybe some bolts or light bulbs for your hideout. Then plan out a rough route. It could be either in your head, or if you're not too familiar with the maps, you could use mapgenie.io and put the map you're playing on the second monitor. Even your phone works if you do not have 2 monitors, but just have it open somewhere. When I used to have a single monitor, I would consistently just alt tab to check the map. That is also an option, but it gets a little annoying after a while. If you do go that route, switching your game to borderless instead of full screen might help you alt tab a little bit faster so it doesn't get stuck on black screen that often. Or actually, it shouldn't get stuck on black screen ever. But getting back to the topic, the route will obviously vary depending on your spawn, but have a plan of what places you want to loot, which areas you should avoid. For example, the construction area in customs is going to be busy with the pocket watch hunters, and the user camp in the woods is going to be full of saleva hunters, for example. Before we move on, I do have to say that no matter what you take away from this video, the main thing is that if any of the tips I give you result in you not having fun or enjoying the game, just ignore it. If you want to go crazy with the PvP, then of course just go for it. At the end of the day, we are here to have fun, so make sure that comes first. Just go and have some fun. If PvP is part of it, you're gonna end up dying a couple times. It's okay, just go ahead and have fun. FOMO, or fear of missing out, is cringe, my friends. I fall victim to it every single wipe, but my tip is that if you get one of your salevas or 3M armor, it's okay to just leave with it. You do not always have to have a full bag of loot to extract. Success in Tarkov has always been about stacking those small wins. BSG really likes to mess with spawn rates of items every single wipe, so if you get a LEDX at level 5 from a random stash, leaving with it immediately would not be such a bad idea, as you might not see another one for the next 200 or 300 raids. There are obviously more examples than just the LEDX, but like I said, stack those small wins. Don't be afraid to leave early just because you did not loot the whole map. Just make sure you have enough XP or have been in the raid long enough to not get a run through, as that will remove your found in raid status from your item and essentially rendering it useless when it comes to questing. If you do not know all the items you might need in the future, I will throw the link to this picture in the description. It will have some changes, as we will probably get a new quest or some stuff might change. But the early game stuff is always the same, so take a peek at the image and try to make a mental note of the items you will need throughout your playthrough. The items highlighted in green is the stuff that you need to find in raid, or with the found in raid status, the little white check mark, and they are in chronological orders, so you know what you will be needing after each quest. Do not forget about your hideout, my friends. One of the things a lot of players ignore during the early wipe, or just as the lower levels in general, is their hideout. A hideout provides you with a ton of benefits to make your life so much easier. For the last couple of wipes now, I have been rushing the med station as soon as possible, as I end up crafting 1 or 2 of my required salevas in there for the first therapist quest. Another thing I recommend doing is just constantly crafting in your hideout, as crafting and hideout management are 2 of the most important skills overlooked by players, myself included until a couple of wipes ago. As you level up your hideout management, your fuel and air filters consumption rate goes down 0.5% per level, up to 25.5% at the elite level. At the same time, it increases all your bonuses from your hideout, such as energy and hydration recovery, by 1% per level, all the way up to 51% at elite. One thing I like to do is craft random things people might need, like bandages for example, and sell them for euros on the flea market, as I know I will need 50,000 euros for Peacekeeper for the mentor quest, and another 25,000 euros if I want to build solar power in my hideout down the line. I find it best to start collecting those euros as soon as possible, and crafting and selling on Flea is one of the best ways of doing it. At the same time, it increases your flea market rep. If you are going to play long term throughout the wipe, I highly recommend working your way towards the library. It gives you 15% additional experience in your raid and 30% increase to practical skills such as crafting, for example. example. Also, air filters is a must-have as you get 40% increase to your physical skills, which is a massive boost if you're going for elite strength and endurance. So do not forget about your hideout and crafting. It's very important down the line, and you can craft a ton of things that you might need for your future quest. So I highly recommend keeping up with your hideout, as it is extremely beneficial in terms of both money and questing. I use it to make euros. You can use it to make rubles. Just craft a ton of things. If you get ahead of the majority of the player base and you can craft things that are hard to come by in the raid, whatever that might be, you can craft that and sell that stuff on flea market for a ton of profit, especially early wipe. So keep that in mind, keep crafting and keep upgrading your hideout so you can sell more and better stuff on flea market. This brings me to the next point, which is sell on flea market as often as possible to increase your flea market reputation. Obviously, you need money spent with traders, so you have to sell stuff to them at some point. There is no way around it. But remember that buying and bartering with traders is also considered as money spent. Having higher flea market reputation makes your life easier down the line, as it increases your available flea market slots to sell items through, which means you will have an easier time cleaning out your stash or just selling stuff for money. The way I look at it, I would rather sell an item for 100,000 rubles on flea market and then spend that money on traders through buying guns or meds and whatnot, than just sell the item for 25,000 rubles to therapists, for example. If you have trouble getting to the flea market in the first place, once again, I highly recommend checking out my leveling guide. And we have arrived at managing your stash base. Managing your stash base is actually pretty hard. Even for me with my EOD space, I always end up hoarding too many items, since I know I will need a lot of stuff down the line for my quests. That is where the Lucky Scav junk box comes in. It takes up 16 squares and gives you 196 in return. You can store everything in there that is considered a bartering item. It does have a pretty big price tag of 1.1 million rubles, but you can buy it straight away from therapist level 1. I personally always buy 2 of them quite early, as I can use one of them later on to build the scalp case in my hideout. Another tip I can give you is to use rigs to your advantage. Some rigs give you more stash base than they take, and just like you can use them to take out more loot in your raids, you can use it to stretch your stash base. I personally use it early on to store ammunition and weapon parts until I get the ammunition cases and weapon cases. Also, I know it's tempting to sell all the cases and containers you get as rewards on flea market for a ton of money, but I highly recommend against it. Money is easy to make, but cases not so much. Even once you unlock it through the traders, they tend to sell out pretty fast, so I highly recommend keeping all the containers you get. And if you are in need of some rubles, go do a quick scav run instead. I do have a ton of guides on how to make money on my channel, so check out those as well. Also, if you want to learn more about how to get every single container in the game, check out this video as well. And finally, we have arrived at the last tip, which is level efficiently. I will not go too deep into this topic here because, like I said before, I have a video on that. I highly recommend you check that out, and I promise you there is something there that you did not know when it comes to leveling up. But my main tip is to always think about survival. Surviving multiplies your in-raid experience by 1.3x, which really adds up if you survive consistently. But also try and combine your daily and weekly tasks with your main quests. If you have to kill 5 scavs in reserve but you have no quest in reserve, just leave it. I always combine my daily quest with my ongoing quest line for maximum efficiency, and if it does not work out, I usually just leave it, as low level dailies are not worth that much anyway. Only exception to that rule I make is if the reward of that daily or weekly is something I really need. For example, if there's a tank battery as a reward, I will 100% be doing that daily or weekly, but like I said, usually the early level ones are not that rewarding. Dailies and weekly quests are a great experience bonus, but going out of my way for just 2,000 or 3,000 XP when I could be doing my main quest is just not worth it in the long term. Like I said, I have a whole video on it. Make sure you go and check that out. And like I said in the beginning, just enjoy the game, my friends, and make sure you are having fun. And if you're watching this in the first couple of weeks of the Tarkov wipe, now is the time to jump in and enjoy the game, as the first 2 to 3 weeks after wipe is the peak Tarkov in my opinion. But even if you're watching this later on, just jump in and go have some fun, my friends. I really hope you found some valuable information, my friends. I hope you consider subscribing and liking the video as usual. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have an awesome day. Take care.